the first question. Dear Lumpos, I was listening to Ajahn Anand podcast, and one of the monks said that when he watches the Marpjan Zoom and Ajahn Anand comes to the meditation, he feels like he can feel Lumpos metta via Zoom. A friend also told me that he sometimes seems to answer her questions through Zoom. Is this possible, or are they imagining it? Thank you.
Both. If you have faith in a teacher, when you see the teacher or hear the words of the teacher, often the faith will bring up very positive, wholesome states of mind. This may be entirely from you, but it's in response to the teacher. So, the teacher is a trigger or a cause for it, but your own mind is bringing up the positive feeling, the good feeling, and so you may say, well, this is the metta of the teacher. Occasionally, if a teacher has a very powerful mind, you may also experience metta from them, but generally that will be when you're actually with them in a live situation, you're with them in person. If it's through a medium like this, through Zoom or something like this, it will generally be your own mind responding. So it's still triggered by the teacher, but it tends to be more your positive states of mind coming up. As far as answering the question goes, the same. Like if you're with a teacher, actually with them physically, maybe they can know what your problem is, either from having talked to you or just known about you before, or maybe in that moment they do pick up on your particular state of mind. That's possible. A teacher like Ajahn Anand has a very powerful, clear, wise mind, so that's possible. But also another factor is often teachers are talking about basic human suffering, which is common to all of us. And they're talking from their own personal experience, also from what they've taught and experienced with other people. And a lot of people have very similar problems, issues, because human beings have a lot of similarities. So often the teacher is giving you some instruction and some advice, and it may be applicable to a number of people, so each one feels like, oh, he's answering my question. But he may not actually intending to particularly answer a particular person's question. It may just be that the advice is just right for you at that time. My feeling, listening to Lumpos Anand's talks or Lumpos Cha's talks, I always get something out of them. And sometimes I listen to the same talk twice, 3 times, 4 times. I still listen to Ajahn Chah's talks now. I began listening to them 40 years ago, and I still get something out of them. So it's also, listening to the Dhamma, answering your questions through listening to a talk. A lot of it is you. It's the state of your mind, where your mind's at. And maybe you have faith in a teacher, so you pay more attention, so you calm down. As you calm down, you follow the logic or the words of the teacher. Maybe the meaning becomes more powerful, more meaningful to you. There'll be a number of different conditions that are supporting that. So it's not necessarily that they're reading your mind, answering your question. It's also that you yourself have put yourself in the right position to absorb the Dhamma on that day, at that time. And that's very common. As I said, the whole experience would probably be more powerful when it's live, but even online or even listening to a talk on, a recorded talk after the event, you can still get new Dhamma and new understanding out of it because of the past connection with the teacher and the respect, the faith in their Dhamma. So like for me, sometimes I just turn Ajahn Chah's talks on, and obviously he died a long time ago. But within a few moments, my mind becomes very peaceful and happy because I have strong faith. So it's like that. So I'm not saying it's impossible that the teacher's reading your mind, their metta is touching you and getting you to understand the point of Dhamma that you really need to at that moment. You know, it is possible, but also it's often a more general thing.
Sadhu Lumpur. The next question. Dear Lumpur, I believe I may be experiencing subtle workplace bullying and work-related stress on a daily basis. I've been trying my best to work through this by applying the Dhamma, using it to manage the negative emotions that arise and to prevent the development of ill will. May I seek your guidance on how I can better apply the Dhamma to overcome this situation? Thank you, Lumpur.
While just speaking generally, I would say work on what you can work on. What's practical, what might bring you success in this situation. So you may be able to talk to other people and try to improve the situation in your relations with other people. That may be possible, but quite often it's not. So then you have to go back to yourself, developing your own mindfulness, patience and wisdom around this situation. It may be the truth that there's really nothing much you can do about it, especially if it's subtle negativity, subtle bullying from others. Maybe there's very little you can do about it other than endure it and keep your mind in a good place internally. So maybe that's about all you can do. Try to keep a skillful attitude, develop metta. I often suggest at least to try it. It might not work, but at least to try it. When you're in your own time, you've got time, you're probably at home, you practice some metta bhavana until your mind is calm, develop goodwill for yourself, for others, and then bring up whoever you feel is the bully, whether it's one or more people, maybe one at a time. You think of them, wish them well, forgive them, try to let go of your anger if they've triggered anger in you, and wish them well. May they be at peace, may they improve, and if they improve, that would mean they would behave better. So you practice metta directed towards the one or more individuals. At least try it, and try it more than once, not just once and then give up. Try it for a period of time. See if it works. If there's any improvement in your attitude, your experience, and any improvement in the relationship with them. And sometimes if you're persistent enough, patient enough, things do change for the better. Occasionally, if the karma is really strong, you may not be able to change anything much. You know, if it's really unbearable, maybe you have to find a new job. But before you find a new job, I would try this to develop the patience and the goodwill for yourself, and then direct it out to those people and see if that can help.
Sadhu Lumpur. The next question. Dear Ajahn, thank you very much for the Dhamma talk. You mentioned at the end that we should see impermanence in people and their behavior. However, we also observed that people tend to repeat the same behavior and have similar personality tendencies. In psychology, it is recognized that there are many personality disorders, and people diagnosed with these disorders tend to behave within the same harmful patterns and unskillful tendencies. Example of these: borderline personality disorder, narcissism, psychopathy, anger issues. How can we deal with the difficult people, knowing that the wisdom of impermanence is not really applicable here? What is the right view here? Thank you.
Run away? Get out of there? If I was working with a psychopath, well, maybe I'd just find a new place to work. Sorry, I'm just joking here. Yeah, difficult. It depends. If it's somebody with a real, mental illness or condition, then that's different, isn't it? That's something maybe that requires medical or psychological help. To be honest, it is still impermanent. Their behavior is impermanent. There'll be some days when they're more intense in their behavior and other days when they're less. But you have to be careful because then it puts you off your guard, doesn't it? So, but everyone changes. Your life situation changes. Their life situation changes. Everyone gets older. One day we've got to die. One day that person will die. One day you will die. So you're right, of course, people repeat the same patterns of behavior, and that may go on a whole lifetime, maybe even for many lifetimes, unfortunately. You do the best you can with it. I don't know what your job is, but if you're actually treating them or helping with them, in a sense you're a medical healthcare professional or something, well, that's one thing. You have to use your skills, your knowledge to deal with them. If it's more just dealing with those habits in ordinary people around you, well, you just use the Dhamma, don't you? That you know that you've learned and that you're practicing. The Dhamma of patience, metta, and sometimes avoidance. If someone is just a nuisance and troublemaker, I would suggest avoid them where you can. And where you can't, well, be on guard. But be very careful around them if they're like that. The list that you've described of character traits of people with different sort of strong personality disorders or harmful traits, be very careful around them. Just like us in the forest, there's a few things in the forest that are dangerous, like tiger snakes, brown snakes, copperhead snakes. We got 3 main types of snakes in our monastery. But usually monks are very careful around snakes. You don't go and mess with them. You don't go and poke them. You don't spend your time with them. If you see them, you walk around them, you're careful, and there's no problem. I would suggest to use that kind of attitude with people who have personality disorders or particularly difficult characters around you. Be very careful with them. They're a cause for you you have to be mindful, you have to be careful, you have to think ahead maybe, or when you meet them, when you're with them, how are you going to behave? What sort of things set them off? What are the problems that come with these people? You have to think about it, don't you? That's if you can't avoid them. And then sometimes you just avoid them. If you go home to your own place, you've got time to yourself. Just like snakes, you can't say you're never going to see a snake, but if you do see a snake, well, don't go and mess with it.
Sadhu, Lumpo. Dear Lumpo, thank you for the Dhamma reflections. During her pregnancy with one of my siblings, out of anger, she once had the intention to terminate the pregnancy, but in the end, she did not go through with it. After learning more about the Dhamma, she now feels a deep sense of remorse for having had such intentions. In addition, her relationship with this sibling has not been very good. Any advice on how my mother might make amends?
Well, to be honest, it sounds like it's okay. I'm not a woman, so obviously I don't know what it's like being pregnant, but if you've been pregnant, it's a big thing in life, and you have the thought, maybe in the early stages, or to have a termination for whatever reason. I imagine a lot of women have that thought. but then they let go of the thought, they don't follow it through. If I understand correctly, that's what's happened here. Your mother's had the intention to terminate but didn't. Well, that's very normal to have different thoughts run through our minds in different situations. The thought to harm someone through our speech, our actions, to terminate a baby, to fight someone, to bully someone, to do things, unskillful things in life. These intentions do come up because we're not yet fully enlightened. We still are prey to thoughts of greed, anger and delusion. But it sounds like your mother has sila and has other good qualities which came up to say, no, I'm not going to terminate this pregnancy. She had the baby, which is a great sacrifice for a mother. To have a baby, it can almost kill or can kill the mother. So for your mum to have your sibling go through it, bring them up, that's an amazing thing. So you have to encourage your mum to see the positive side of everything and what she's done. But at the same time, living with people, there's some people, even in our family, even if you're a parent and you had children, there'll be some that you naturally get on easier with and better with, and some you find it difficult. It would be strange if you got on with everyone really well in the whole world. We don't. It's not like that because we have different characters and different karma. So in this case, if your mum has a particular anger towards a certain member of the family, you could say maybe it's past karma from past life coming through. Just encourage everyone to be kind, forgiving, patient with the situation, not make it worse. And when those feelings come up, to observe them, witness them, and then try to let them go and bring up a sense of tolerance, mutual appreciation, love if you can. And just encourage that in the family, between all the family members. But just to have a few intentions, to terminate a pregnancy or to harm somebody, everyone has that, because none of us are arahants. Until you're an arahant, those intentions will come up. The important thing is, what do you do with them? Do you follow them? But in this case, your mum didn't follow the intention. She said, no, I'm not going to terminate, I'll have the baby. That's the right thing.
Sadhu. Lumpos,
Is that the end?
are there any more questions?
Well, it looks like that's the end of the questions tonight. So nice talking to you. We're in the range retreat now, so it's a good time for you all to put effort into your practice, dana, sila, bhavana, as I've been explaining tonight. And we'll see you at the same time next time. So that's 7 p.m. Melbourne time is the starting time for the Zoom session.